I've been back from my trip to Nordkap along the TET for about a week and a half now, and I thought I would just do a quick run through of some of the equipment, basically see how it worked. You might as well start with the bike. Harley, my CRF 250M, has been absolutely faultless. Worked perfectly, just ran the way it should. I've naturally made a few modifications to it, but the basic bike itself worked absolutely faultlessly. The one big thing that I had changed that I really found to be perfect was the tank. The bigger 12.5 litre tank as compared to the 7.7 litre original tank made a huge difference to the mileage, and I found myself doing 300 kilometres pretty easily most of the time, as opposed to 200 kilometres with the standard tank. That made a big difference. This is the M model, the super motard model with the 17-inch wheels. That was a bit of a problem on some of the loose stuff, the loose gravel and the sand. The front tyre, the smaller, wider front tyre is not as good as a 21-inch off-road tyre naturally, but it worked okay. I was quite happy to use it. The other thing with the tyres was that I have more sort of road-oriented tyres, more like a 75-25 road off-road tyre, and I would say that was a bit of a problem in some of the clay-based sections. I didn't have a lot of traction. In the really deep, loose sand, I didn't have a lot of traction. But it's a compromise. I chose that compromise from the beginning. I knew that might happen. But as there are a lot of fast gravel and hard-packed roads, and I would be doing a fair bit of tarmac as well, I thought it was a good compromise, and I'm still quite happy with it. Nice, comfortable ride with good grip on the harder pack stuff, but a little less traction on the gravel and especially on the clay-based stuff. But it worked okay. The other big modification is my One Adventure Rally Tower with the LED lights. It gives a better screen with better protection. I'd say up to about 100 kilometres an hour. It actually gives reasonable protection. And as the bike, only being a 250, doesn't really do much more than about 100 and 110 kilometres an hour anyway, it actually worked quite well. Still small, manageable, has dual LED lights. This time of year, this far north, that doesn't really matter. It's more or less light all the time. But I can imagine that it's going to make a big difference in autumn when I really need the lights. A big bonus is that it has a USB power output, and that actually saved me on this trip. I was planning to use that to charge some of my power banks if I was going to do a lot of camping, but because of the weather I didn't do a lot of camping, so I didn't really need it for that. But I have my DMD2 navigation device, and for some reason the cradle stopped charging, and I had to use a USB cable to charge it from the USB port, so that basically saved me. One other thing I was thinking about originally, I did mount these extra bags on the front here, and my plan was to have a power bank or something in them and charge them on the go. But again, because I didn't do that much camping and I actually got access to power more or less every night in a hotel or a campground or something, I didn't really need those. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use those next time or not. It'll probably depend a little bit on what sort of terrain I'll be traveling through and how often I think I will get access to power. With a bike, as opposed to a bicycle, when you're bike packing, I mean, you have constant access to power, so it's not as critical as it is on a bike packing trip. The handguards were already fitted when I bought the bike, but they were great, not only for protection. I did tip over one, so maybe they protected me a little bit then, but also just to keep the cold wind off my hands. So that's a perfect thing as well. The Enduro rear view mirrors, really adjustable, and if I was to tip over and knock them, they don't break, they move instead, but they are an excellent addition as well. The other thing that's fitted to the bike is the pannier racks. Now I chose these sort of pannier racks that are pretty solid rather than just have soft panniers straight on, mainly to protect the bike. I'm planning to use this bike for some other stuff as well, so I really wanted the protection, and they proved excellent to mount my soft panniers on. Worked really well, protected the bike. I mean, there's not much to say. They work or they don't. They fit and they work, so that's not a problem. I have a rack on it. That rack was on it when I bought it. Also worked really well, not a problem at all. The heavy-duty skid plate, engine guard, not sure how much work that did or if I needed it, but that's the sort of thing that you really only find out you need it when you need it. So I'm quite happy that's on there. Larger foot pegs, nice and comfortable. Again, I don't know if I really needed the brake pedal and the gear pedal change, but I had changed those when I bought those. Again, with the handbrake and the clutch grip, I've also changed those. Don't really know if they're needed, but they're nice and they worked. And, well, I think that's basically all the mods on the bike. And as I said, the bike was absolutely faultless. I oiled and I didn't even adjust it. I cleaned and oiled the chain twice on the trip. That's all I had to do. And with the CRF 250 L and M, the service distance is quite long, so there was no problem at all doing the 4,660 odd kilometers I did on the trip without having to do any kind of service. All in all, extremely pleased with the bike. Not a problem at all. Everything really worked as it should. Now, I also had the Krieger OS panniers, and they mount really nicely to my pannier mounts. It's possible to mount these with a soft type of mount as well, but as I already had these, as I said, for protection and also to mount panniers on, I just snapped those on there and was able to use those. They were probably a little bit bigger, 18 litres, plus my rack pack were probably more than I needed, so they were almost, no, I wouldn't say empty, but they were only half full. But they did their job, worked perfectly, were relatively easy to put on and off. I mean, they were not absolutely easy, but it's not a big problem. Take them on and off, and they fit in a universal type of way on this sort of pannier rack without a problem. They have an internal waterproof dry bag, which supposedly makes them completely waterproof. And I can honestly say on this trip, I put them to the test, and yeah, not a problem. If they survived the trip with me and they didn't let any water through, I think they're going to be perfectly okay. Otherwise, nothing broke and everything good. They shouldn't, not in that on one trip. Everything should be all right, and no problems, no complaints. I'm quite happy to use those again. Along with that, I had my sleeping kit, as I was planning to camp a fair bit in this old Ortlieb rack pack that I've had for ages. I've used for bike packing and all sorts of things through the years. Just strapped that on there, worked perfectly well. Again, waterproof, well, solid, lightweight, nice. I think I could have got by without using that and just had the soft panniers on the side, depending on what sort of trip you want to do, how much camping you want to do. Now, I had my full camping equipment with me, which took up a fair bit of space in that. On top of that, I had a Krieger T9 Trailline backpack. I chose this because I wanted to keep my valuables waterproof and close to me and not on the bike. So if I get on the bike, I'll have my valuables with me. And I also wanted a hydration bladder. I put 3 litres of water in this when I left Stockholm, and I still had about 2 litres left when I came back. The weather was so bad that I wasn't really drinking anything out of it. But I imagine if it was warmer, this would have been quite usable. And I like the idea of having access to water without having to stop. And also it's a nice way to carry water. It was comfortable, easy to put on, take off, waterproof. Yeah, no complaints at all. And I will be reusing this. I hope to be heading out on a bike touring and bike packing trip next Monday in about 4 or 5 days. And I'm going to try to use this to carry water then and see what it's like on a more hopefully warmer and hopefully a more active when I'm actually pedaling, if it feels okay then as well. So I'll be trying that again. The other thing I did have was my extra 2 litre petrol container that I strap on the side of the bike. That was really good. I wasn't going to bring this originally because with the bigger tank, I thought, oh, I won't need this. I got this because of the smaller original tank that was on the bike. But I'm glad I did. It got me out of trouble. I had a place where I was planning to refill that turned out to be closed. Then I used Google Maps to navigate to another place, which for some reason didn't exist the way that Google Maps expected it to. And that left me sort of in the lurch, basically. Without this, I don't think I would have made it back to a petrol station with petrol. So I'll probably keep that with me. It's easy to strap on the bike and it just stays there, and it's a bit of extra security. Don't really know what else to say about the bike, as everything just worked perfectly the way it should. And I'm really quite happy to set up on another trip with this at any time again. The one thing, depending on the terrain, I might like to do is have slightly better, more off-road orientated tyres if I'm going to go on a section that's more loose sand. But apart from that, it's faultless. It hardly really does what it's supposed to do perfectly.